Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you. We're live on the Radio Northwest Network, which serves Oregon, Washington, and Idaho over a great network of 20 radio stations in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. We're glad to take your phone calls and your emails. Always glad to take naysayer calls as well at 866-HEY-LARS. That's 866-439-5277. Emails go to talk@larslarson.com. Our Twitter poll question today: should illegal aliens count toward representation in the U.S. Congress? The president issued an executive order today saying we are not going to count illegal aliens because the fact that a state has more illegal aliens living in it should not entitle it to more representatives on Capitol Hill in the House of Representatives. They don't change their senators, but they might get more members of Congress. That should not be the case, and I think the president is absolutely right about it. You can vote in today's Twitter poll at Lars Larson Show on Twitter or at our website, larslarson.com. Brought to you by Ultimate Truck Services. If you rely on trucks for your business, Ultimate keeps your biggest assets on the road and running right. Find them at ultimatetruckservice.com. Now, they say that politics is a dirty business, and I think they're absolutely right. And, of course, people are concerned about money in politics, but I'm also concerned about misuse of political influence. Now, at some point, I'll look forward to talking to somebody by the name of Ann Rivers, but I didn't hear back from her today. So Eric Temple joins me now, who's owner of a railroad. Mr. Temple, welcome to the program.
Lars, thank you so much for having me on, and also thank you for the opportunity to share my story with your listeners. It has been an interesting few weeks.
So you own this Portland-Vancouver Junction Railroad. You're actually from Bellevue, but you own the railroad, and you'd like to be able to get some industrial development along the railroad and make use of this short line railroad line. But now you say that you've been shaken down for political contributions in almost as a quid pro quo for getting the kind of development you want to get along your railroad?
Well, correct. Lars, most of your listeners have never heard of me and probably don't even know Clark County owns a railroad. But I'm the guy, along with 4 of my employees, who manage it. And I've spent 16 years and a small fortune trying to make this thing successful. And it's precisely this investment that makes me so vulnerable to these threats and has made this so gut-wrenching for me and my family. It all started with a simple campaign donation to the Clark County Republican Party, or as the Supreme Court calls it, exercising my right to free speech. Little did they know at the time, this donation would basically cause 2 local powerful politicians to become unhinged.
Why? When you say unhinged, what did they do that led you to believe they're unhinged?
Well, first, the first one to go was Clark County Councilor John Blom. He willingly admits that he had one of his campaign personnel investigate my donation. At first, John just tried to pressure a woman I work with to get me to withdraw the donation. When this failed, he then asked her to pass along a clearly unethical message, and probably illegal, that he would use his office to retaliate against me. And let me slow that down for the men in your audience. I'm sure every woman heard it. A powerful man pressured a woman, a completely innocent woman, to pass along this highly unethical and probably illegal message.
So because you made a campaign contribution to a Republican or to the Republican Party, they said, we're going to get even with you through the railroad?
Oh, yeah. No, John clearly made it known that he would use his office. In fact, he made it known if he lost in the primary or lost in the general election, he still had until January 20th or whatever the date is, January something, 2021, to use his office to get back at me.
Now, you've actually filed an ethics investigation into these violations, right? So you're going the right route to get some justice on it, correct?
Oh, correct. And John was just the first one. Senator Rivers was the second. And both of them now have PDC complaints against them from me. And it's not like I didn't ask people first. I asked friends on the left. I asked friends on the right. I told them the story of what Senator Ann Rivers had done and what Councilor John Blom had done. And everyone told me I had to turn them in. And so that's the
Well, let's be specific about what Rivers did. What are you saying that Rivers did?
Well, Ann Rivers on July 1st sent me a text message first thing in the morning. And she basically said, and I think I sent you a copy of the text, if I directed $5,000 to her campaign, she would make certain problems go away from me. Now, I texted her back. I said, what problems do you mean? I even followed up with a phone call. and asked her specifically what problems I had that would go away for $5,000. Now, she didn't actually answer that question, but she did make it clear that she would be watching me to see what I did.
Do you read that to mean that the problems were the problems you had with getting industrial development along this short rail line, the Portland Vancouver Junction Railroad?
Lars, I can't read Senator Rivers' mind.
Let's put it this way: are there any other problems you have business-wise that she would have any influence on? Let's do it by process of elimination. Were there some other things that she could do and make problems go away other than your railroad?
Sure. Well, let me answer it this way. It definitely was railroad related, but I also think it's a lot like if I owned a small restaurant in Brooklyn, and the mafia came in and tried to sell me fire insurance. Maybe I don't have a fire yet, but maybe I could have a fire,
Yeah, Eric, it'd be really terrible if your sweet little restaurant happened to burn down one day, but we could help you make sure that doesn't happen, right?
Do you want to buy some insurance, Lars?
Exactly. Well, so, and yet they made this charge when she said, I'll make problems go away. That's kind of open-ended. That means that she could be referring to the railroad, but if she isn't referring to that, I'd be glad to have Ann Rivers tell me what she was referring to in the way of problems, if it wasn't the railroad.
Yeah, Lars, we're all grown-ups here, and I can tell you, I think of it a lot like the 1964 Supreme Court ruling, where I think it was Justice Potter said, not about pornography.
About pornography.
I see it.
I know it and it smells. You say, I can't define what pornography is or what obscenity is, but I know it when I see it. So you clearly said to Ann Rivers and to the other counselor, you're trying to shake me down. What was their response? Or have you confronted them that way?
Sure, I've confronted both of them, and so far it's been denials, and we'll find out through our investigation. What's interesting is, of course, the PDC has opened their investigations, and these are not unserious things, Lars. The PDC has Public Disclosure Commission, has the right to make criminal referrals. And on top of that, there's a legislative ethics board that can also do investigations, and I'm scheduled to talk with them tomorrow at 10. The only group that has not opened an investigation is Clark County itself. Their independent ethics committee was blocked from receiving my complaint by John Blom himself and the other two liberals on the Clark County Council. They're literally blocking the independent committee from hearing my charges, which isn't even allowed under the law.
I guess it's not as independent as we thought it would be. I'll tell you what, I'll make you this promise. Ann Rivers apparently does want to talk to me about this. I'll ask her the hard questions. I'll give her a chance to explain what kind of favors she planned to do for you for the $5,000 if it wasn't fixing the railroad problem, and then we'll get you back on. That's Eric Temple. He's from Bellevue, but he owns a tiny little railroad, and he's run into a problem. How would you like to be shaken down by a politician? I'll get to your phone calls and emails in just a moment. You've got the Lars Larson Show.